නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Venerable Chong A and dear brothers and sisters, today I am honored by you for having invited for this Dharma talk, and the third one in the series of these Dharma talks. And I would like to first talk a little bit about the greatness of the Buddha, and then I will talk about the Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and after that I try to explain Four Noble Truths, and then the present day Buddhism, how it works in the Western world. Buddha was born 623 years before the Jesus Christ was born in North India. Today this place is has been declared by the UNO as the World Heritage, and the exact place where Buddha was born was found very recently. And this place is honored by all the world. And Buddha, why we honor, venerate so much the Buddha? Buddha was born under a tree. He attained enlightenment under a tree, and he passed away under a tree. And he had nothing but two robes and his begging bowl, alms bowl. In spite of that, he was so poor, and compared to the world, but still 2500 years after his demise, still the world is honoring more and more him. Why this? Especially, Buddha was born to a royal family, and he had a very rich, luxurious, comfortable life, and he had everything to be happy, and worldly desires can be easily satisfied in his palaces. His father constructed for him 3 palaces for 3 seasons. But he saw that all these luxuries are not lasting and impermanent. One day, at the age of 29, he decided to go out from the palace to be an ascetic. So this is why we honor so much Buddha. And in the Western world, some scholars try to explain Buddha like this: the world renouncer and world conqueror. And this seems a little bit contradictory and paradoxical. If you renounce the world, how can you conquer it? You know, all the kings and emperors who have tried to conquer the world, they never renounced the world. They tried to live in the world. But Buddha, having renounced the world, having given up the world and everything, luxury life, princely life, a royal life, he gave up, he went to the forest. And that's why he is so much respected. You know, in the present day world, there's so much rich millionaires and multimillionaires. They have luxurious lives. But after their death, perhaps nobody except some of their family members, nobody we would talk about them. But this great person who thought to go away from the palace in search of the truth is still and more respected. And at that time in India, the Indian mentality is, one can say, philosophical. It means a lot of young generation, young children of families were searching for something other than the worldly life, some truth. When I say this, I remember some story told by one of my French sisters who went first to India. First time, she was a very kind and sensitive woman. When she came to the Bombay airport and she came out from the airport, she saw a man, a young boy begging, clad in rags and very emaciated body. So this boy was asking, "I am hungry, please give something." Then this woman was so shocked by this young boy who is begging. He said, automatically he happened to say, "Oh, sad." But you know this begging boy, what he said? "I am poor but not sad." You understand this? This is India. Even still, all these developments and modernism in the world, still this philosophical nature exists in India. So at that time, Buddha's time, lot of people, you know, in the Buddha's sutras, it is said that there had been 62 different religions. It means people were searching for something, some truth. So it is Buddha did it. He went from the palace to search for something. So this way he renounced and conquered the world. And after that, Buddha spent 6 years in the forest, and he practiced very difficult ascetic practices, and he didn't eat for months, for days, and he didn't sleep for days, and according to the belief of the time, it was believed that to give most suffering to the body is the way of finding the truth. So he tried all these things. He went to different teachers, and this practice of self-mortification, he understood that it would not pave the way for truth, and so his body was weakened and emaciated, and he was like skeleton. So ultimately he gave up this practice of ascetic practice, rigid ascetic practice, And uh, finally he came to the uh, middle path. This is the most important path in the world. Today it is very much respected. And without going to extremes, he started practicing middle path. Instead of giving pain to the body, he started having some food. And then in his case, he had the chance to have tasted two ways of life. First, self-indulgence. Everything he had to be happy in the family, in the royal family. And after that, having given up, he tried this self mortification, giving pain to the body, and that also he found that it is meaningless. It was meaningless. Then he adopted a new way. Of course, his friends, some ascetics who had left with him the families, who had renounced their families, they were not happy with the Buddha, with the Bodhisattva. So they misunderstood that this person had the princely life, so he must be repenting the way he had these experiences, so he must be changing his way, and something like that they thought. Finally they left him. May Buddha was not discouraged. He, one day, a full moon day, a Vesak, in the month of May, he was seated under a tree. It is called Bodhi tree after his enlightenment, and he became Buddha. He understood the truth. So this is his story, simple story of the Buddha. And after that, for 45 years, traveling all over India, he was preaching what he has found. And now I will come later to what he was teaching. And now I am talking a little bit about my country, Sri Lanka, and the Buddhism in my country. Sri Lanka, you may know that small island, little island, very near to the South Indian Ocean in South India. So this island, the Buddhism was introduced to this island in the 3rd century before Jesus Christ, but still before, it is believed that Buddha has visited this island 3 times, but historically there are no facts to prove it. But in the text it is mentioned. So archaeologists and historians are reluctant to accept this. Anyway, the Buddhists in our country, they believe that Buddha has visited Sri Lanka. Anyway, in Mahayana Buddhism, there is a sutra called Lankavatara Sutra. So Lanka is Sri Lanka. So Lankavatara Sutra means sutra which was expounded having visited Sri Lanka. It means there is something that Buddha must have preached this sutra in Sri Lanka. Anyway, when Emperor Ashoka became Emperor Ashoka in India, 3rd century, he was a very dangerous, very, very cruel emperor at first. He waged war and he won, and thousands were killed. Finally, he understood the meaninglessness of these killings. and he became Buddhist. After that, he thought to spread this sublime message of Buddha all over world, and he sent Buddhist monks. Up to Israel he sent Buddhist monks, and many countries in Asia, and up to Israel. And in Sri Lanka was very close and very connected to India, so he sent one of his sons who became a monk. He is called Mahinda. Then he established Buddhism in Sri Lanka. And after some time, one of his sisters, another princess, daughter of Ashoka, who was a bhikkhuni, a monk, a nun, she brought a sapling of the Bodhi tree under which Buddha attained enlightenment. And it is said that the original Bodhi tree in Sri Lanka, in India, had been destroyed, and now the Bodhi tree which was brought to Sri Lanka by bhikkhuni or nun Sangamitta still exists. So historically recorded, the only tree so old in the world is that tree. There must be trees older than that, perhaps in the forest Amazon and in such forest, but no one is recorded. So this tree is recorded and people respect very much. So other than that, and with the arrival of the Buddhism into Sri Lanka, our culture was completely changed, transformed, and our architecture was completely transformed. Our writings and everything were transformed. So we have a very rich Buddhist culture in our country. And after some time, Buddha's one of the teeth was brought to Sri Lanka. So this exists still in a temple which is called Temple of Tooth, in the middle of the country, in an ancient city. So this is also very much respected. So in Sri Lanka, there are three things which are very important for Buddhism. First thing is the Bodhi tree which I mentioned, and second thing is this one of the two teeth of Buddha, and the third one, the Buddhism after the passing away of Buddha, 3 months after, a council was held with the presidency of Venerable Mahakashyapa. This council decided to safeguard the Buddha's message, Buddha's teachings, decided to distribute to monks to memorize. So all these sutras, teachings were memorized by these monks, and it was transmitted orally. It had not been written anywhere. So Buddha has never written anything. So it was transmitted until the 1st century before Jesus Christ. It was transmitted orally. Then in Sri Lanka, under a king called Valagambahu, this doctrine, these teachings, the sublime teachings of Buddha, which were transmitted orally until then, was written in the books. Books means at that time the paper did not exist. And they used some kind of leaf. It is called palmyra leaves or palm leaves. Was used to write, to inscribe this doctrine. So then Buddhism was first time in history was written in the books in Sri Lanka in the first century before Jesus Christ. So due to these three things, Sri Lankans are very, very proud of these things. So Buddhism influenced in every way. For us, our way of life, for instance, in my village, the way of life is Buddhist. Until the Portuguese came in the 16th century beginning, the Buddhism and Hinduism existed in Sri Lanka very harmoniously, and some Muslim believers. And then Christianity came, and today there are several religions in Sri Lanka. And Buddhism, Buddha expounded very important thing in his teachings. It is not heard in anywhere in other religions. The freedom of choose, selection. When Buddha came to a village called Kalama, the people of this village asked Buddha, said to Buddha, Venerable, lot of people of various religions come here. They say that theirs is the truth. And what can we do? How can we select the truth? Then the Buddha, answered in a very, very unique way. In any other religion, this freedom does not exist. This was then expounded to the people of Kalama. Then it is called Kalama Sutra. In this Kalama Sutra, he says, do not accept by mere hearsay, do not accept by mere tradition, do not accept by mere report, do not accept just because it is similar to your scriptures, do not accept by mere reason, do not accept by mere inference, do not accept by merely considering the appearances, do not accept merely because it agrees with your preconceived notions, do not accept merely because it seems acceptable, do not accept thinking that the teacher is respected by us. You see this freedom. And after that Buddha concludes this way, when you know for yourself that certain things are unwholesome, wrong and bad, then give them up. And when you know for yourself that certain things are wholesome and good, then accept them and follow them. So this is unique in Buddhism. This is unique in the world religions. Any world religious leader has not advocated his followers to choose to be so free. This freedom still exists in Buddhism. Buddhism never tries to convert people. And Buddhism has never used violence to make them people Buddhist. The Emperor Ashoka, which I mentioned earlier, after he became Buddhist, he stopped waging war. In the human history, the only king or only leader who has stopped the war and having won the war, the only king is Emperor Ashoka. And there are other leaders, kings, who have stopped the war. We know in the 20th century leaders like Hitler or Mussolini or Tojo, Japan, and all these leaders stopped the war because they lost. Having lost, they were obliged to, they were forced to stop the war. But Emperor Ashoka, he won the war, at the same time he stopped the war. This is due to Buddhism. Thank you so much for listening me so patiently. Thank you again.